All right.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order, May 9th at 6 o'clock, our regular meeting of the Manitowoc Public School District School Board. We're going to start off with our pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Going to take roll for this.
Christopher Adel,
Here.
Viv Hansen,
Here.
Matthew Phipps,
Here.
Stacy Seldner,
Here.
Matthew Spalding,
Here.
Carrie Trask, and Tony Bustelica.
Here.
Okay, it's our first item is our public input. Individuals are allowed 5 minutes each to speak, and our first is Braden Meyer. You just come up and let us know what your address is, sir.
Hi, I'm Brian Meyer, 1710 Whitewater Drive. Race has emerged as a flaming topic over the last few years. There have been claims of inequality that are presented with a lack of proof or fail to take into account personal responsibility. Some of these claims employ the systems of which our institutions are bounded to. With that, it is said that the government must get involved in changing these allegations from all levels, including federal, state, and local. This does include taxpayer-funded public schooling. The most common way this is done is through affirmative action, or as today's society calls it, diversity, equity, and inclusion. In a class of mine, when I was a freshman, it was Black History Month. During one period, a student asked my teacher, "Why don't we have a White History Month?" He was not trying to annoy anyone, and he did not have a snarky tone. There was nothing negative about the way he presented his question. My teacher responded by telling him, "You have to be careful with questions like those." Why though? School is supposed to be a place where students are allowed to ask questions and get answers. If they can't get answers, then what are they there for? They should not be told to, quote unquote, be careful with what they ask. How are they to learn if teachers have DEI thoughts like these on their minds? After telling that student to be careful, the teacher played a video that said the answer to his question is that every month is White History Month. This is not the appropriate answer to give in the classroom. Answering the question like that insinuates that for only 1 month of the year, we learn about Black history. It also implies that for the 11 other months, we only learn about historical figures who are white, not any other races. Those are thoughts that are very much false. When you go on to the Lincoln High School Scholarships and Financial Aid website, you will find a link to a spreadsheet that lists numerous scholarships. On this year's spreadsheet, the Actuarial Foundation is listed. On this website, the Organization of Latino Actuary Scholarship Program 2022 to 2023 is offered. This gives scholarships only to Latinos. On that same website, the Actuarial Diversity Scholarship is offered, which requires a student to be part Black, Hispanic, Native North American, or Pacific Islander. Our public schools should not be promoting scholarships, even if they are offered by a separate entity that divide people based on race. In fact, we should not be promoting any organizations that offer resources based on race. On this school district's website, under the section titled About the MPSD, it states, quote unquote, "The MPSD does not discriminate on the basis of race, color, national origin, ancestry, sex, age, creed, religion, marital or parental status, or physical, mental, emotional, or learning disability and access or admission to problems, services, or activities in treatment of individuals or in any aspect of its operations. Throughout the last few years, my high school has offered minority-only scholarships, which required a student to be a minority race in order to receive it. Scholarships are part of the district's operations. This is in clear violation of that policy. This policy should also be persistent with all resources referenced to. This is where talks of inclusivity and diversity truly lead to exclusion. Race-based selection has no place in our society. This reverses all the progress society has made since the Civil Rights Acts. This tells minorities they cannot get a hold of these scholarships if they were allowed for all races, as they should be. Either we point toward and offer scholarships that don't discriminate based on race, or we don't engage with these scholarships at all. This promulgates the lie that America needs to bring affirmative action into the public sector. These types of decisions reverse our nation's long history of improving equality over time. This is what leads to inequality. In the past, minorities struggled to receive equal treatment. Today, it is the reverse. Whites are the ones receiving systemic discrimination. Instead of moving inequality from the minority to the majority, we need to end it altogether. Call it affirmative action, call it DEI, call it whatever updated term is invented for this to replace the last one, which earned a bad reputation. It's all the same. The more accurate phrase to describe this idea would be non-diversity, inequality, and exclusion. Let's make sure we don't engage in any activities with DEI implemented. We have made much progress to get to where we are today. I do not want to see our progress shattered from a small group that claims to be non-racist, yet themselves judge people based on their race through actions like these.
Thank you, Bridget. Okay, our next guest is Heather James.
Okay. So my name is Heather James. I live at 3909 Seneca Lane, and I'm here to talk about the middle school electives. I did write an email to each board member as well as the superintendent, and I want to thank those of you who did respond. I'm a parent of 3 children in the district. They're currently in grades 8, 11, and grade 3. They attend Lincoln, Wilson, and Riverview. We've had wonderful education experiences within the district. My oldest has special needs, and she started in the early childhood program right after her 3rd birthday in 2009. My 3rd grader will graduate at Lincoln in 2032. So by my math, we'll have 23 years in the MPSD by the time that happens, which is a little hard for me to wrap my head around. So my 8th grade daughter is currently taking jazz band, choir, Spanish, PE, and health at Wilson. The current schedule does allow for 3 elective hours daily. The proposed new schedule will allow for only 2 hours each day. The number of minutes per hour are proposed to be longer, but the number of courses available will have to decrease. What this means is students who are required to take PE every other day will have fewer courses to choose from. Music is every other day. These are classes such as band, jazz band, orchestra, choir. Foreign language is every day for the full year. A student taking both music and foreign language along with required PE requirement will have filled up all of their elective choices and won't be able to choose another elective. They can't take choir or jazz band if they've also taken band and foreign language. The end result is that middle school jazz band is likely to be eliminated because most students take both band and jazz band. This will then filter up to the high school level, where you will have students entering who did not take as much music, and they will likely have to eliminate classes there. So students do choose to take band, PE, and an everyday foreign language. They also will not be able to take health during middle school. This is a required course for graduation, and those students would have to take it during 9th grade, which will limit their opportunities to take electives at Lincoln at the high school level. For many of these students, electives are a draw that bring them to school every day that keep them engaged in the process. So it is harmful, I think, to eliminate those. I did receive a response from Jamie McCall indicating that they are looking at making Spanish a one semester or perhaps an every other day course. As with music, foreign language is progressive and regular participation on a daily basis is required to really develop proficiency. Eliminating about 1/2 of foreign language offerings, such that students can only take the equivalent of 1 year of foreign language in middle school, means that the high school will no longer be able to offer Spanish 6, which they currently offer. If they take 1 semester every day, they will likely have to wait 8 to 12 months to engage in the next level of Spanish or whatever foreign language they choose, which will reduce their grasp of the language. The University of Wisconsin, students can receive retroactive college credit for the students, for the classes they take in high school if they take a semester of that language in college. That can give up to 16 college credits to that student. This is the equivalent of a full semester of college learning that they will receive, and they'll get it for free. Eliminating that 1/2 of foreign language at middle school will impact the ability of students to receive that credit after they graduate from Lincoln. I was also told that they're being considered a 0-hour option for electives. This may be difficult for students that take the bus, for students that carpool with other working parents, not to mention the early start time. My 8th grader already complains about the Wilson start time because it's earlier than both her sister at Lincoln and her brother at Riverview. I currently drop her off at 7:30 in the morning. A 0 hour would potentially mean dropping her at 6:30 or 6:45 in the morning. Studies have shown that students who participate in music education score higher on standardized tests. They earn better grades in English and in math. They have superior performance on tests of executive function, short-term memory, and they also have higher graduation rates. Music is not just for entertainment. It enhances education across many other disciplines. Preserving the music program at MPSD was one of the reasons that I encouraged others to vote for the referendum. I never imagined that the district would immediately make changes that threaten the opportunities for our students both in music and in foreign language, and that these changes would filter up to the high school and eliminate some of the opportunities there. The district is to be congratulated on the success of this new referendum passing. This generous funding over 5 years will help enhance education across the board for all of our students, will help keep our buildings safe and functional. This funding should be used to enhance the education, not limit options for them. I would like to see my 3rd grade son have the same opportunities as his older sisters. So I asked the board and the district to keep a full complement of electives available to our middle school students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Our next steps is Jeff Bell.
Jimmy, I'll start with an old adage, it's better late than never, and I just want to thank Colin and Kathy for their service for this organization while they were here. Headlines across America today. I'm just going to read 6 of them. 7th grade student fights back after school told him to change his "there are only 2 gendered" t-shirt. Another one. Parents protest school after 1st graders allegedly forced a girl to perform a sex act and they recorded on an iPhone. Another one. Milwaukee teachers aide accused of sexually assaulting and soliciting sexual favors from a 14-year-old student. How about one that says raccoon infestations overruns a Texas high school with critters dropping from the ceilings? Another one. Author of a sex slavery book with graphic rape details claims it belongs in the public schools after parental outcry. And last but least, this one was this morning. Chaos ensues when a student uses a pepper spray after her phone is confiscated at her school. These are just a few things that hopefully are unique to the Manitowoc public school system, hopefully. But as you and I know in today's culture, never say never. Now for the main topic I have that I wanted to talk on is the school referendum. I spent a long day here over a month ago. I think the last board meeting we had here at the election was like the week before, in a room on the other side of this building, as I am a poll watcher. All day I watched a diverse group of people vote. They were young, they were old, some were handicapped, some needed help getting in to vote. But they were doing what we all would like, is voting and showing what they believe in. As this voting went on for the long day, I kind of perceived a mental preconceived notion as to if the school referendum was going to pass. Now I'm going to say what some of you probably don't want to hear. And please don't pull out your big black magic markers and put a big DT or DK on my shirt. Somewhat reminiscent of a book that was written in 1850 by Nathaniel Hawthorne about Heather Prynne in the Scarlet Letter A. Okay? DT, DK. I voted no on the referendum. Okay? DT, DK, dislikes teachers, dislike kids. I do not. But once again, I proved what I wanted to do and show what I believe for the referendum. And here's why. Obviously, the number one key I thought was inflation. I voted for school board members before the referendum to make hard and tough decisions without the benefit of an operational referendum to make it, I believe, easier for you. Hard and tough decisions are instead forced on electorate that has inflation eating at their pocketbooks. Mine, yours included. I understand that. Highest inflation throughout 22 that we've had in decades. Moody's Analytics states that the average American spends an additional $445 more a month than the previous year. Or about MSNBC stating that 58% are living paycheck to paycheck. Now, I'm not saying the referendum passing is a bad thing. And I commend you what she was saying about what she hopes it'll bring to her kids. And Brandon, you're quite impressive on what you speak up here. So I'm not against it winning, but I voted no because of the inflation issues. The 48% who voted no and the 52% who voted yes, we want to hold you accountable for making these things happen that you say will happen or that you would like to happen. As I finish, I refer to the posting on the MPSD website once the referendum passed. Mr. Superintendent, you stated that you're urged to fight hard and strong for changes within the state funding structure so we will not continue to rely on operational referendums to solve these issues. And I understand it's not in the far too recent past that you went down and tried to change these things that have been hindering your progress in the past. And why the heck it's been hindered in the past and this hasn't been done sooner is water over the dam. Push for it more than you ever have. You also state about reaching the point where you can opt out of this referendum dollars because it may not be no longer used. I urge you, from the 48% who voted no, myself included, the 52% who voted yes, to hold you accountable for making these things happen. You did not win the lottery by the referendum passing, nor should you act like drunken sailors and spend this money because you now have it. Please be conservative and fiscal and use it what it should be used for. And just don't spend it to spend it. Oh, and thanks again as I leave that you didn't put a D, K, dislike kids or dislike teachers on my shirt because I'd have to explain that to my wife. And I'm sorry I brought that book up because in today's woke society, I don't even know if you have it in your libraries or in your schools. But you know what? Back in 1971, I read it in high school. And it's too bad things aren't like that. I understand what you're going through. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, that ends our public input for tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't fill in the form. May I ask a couple of questions?
We do not answer any, but you can certainly
Well, I'd like to kind of,
sure.
I'm reading things with this gentleman, and I don't have any children in the school district.
Ma'am,
I don't have any children in the state of Wisconsin. Mine are grown.
ma'am, before you continue, can we just have your name and
Diane
address?
Schwartz. I live on South 23rd Street.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm not sure how relevant, so I'm gonna ask directly. Regarding this woke transgender stuff, I just read an article on a school in Wisconsin, okay, where 4 young ladies went in from school practice and thank goodness remained in their swimsuits to rinse the chlorine out. And a man, they were 14 years old. And a man, when they walked through the locker room, said, "I'm trans." And after these girls entered the shower, he entered it, buck naked. I want to know, and then he turned full force. Now those girls were 14, and this gentleman was 18. First of all, he's a legal adult. Secondly, trans or not, I personally believe that allowing little girls to be subjected to that is somewhat deviant. So that's my personal opinion. I'd like to know how loose or free are the rules in the Manitowoc schools regarding this issue of boys in the girls' bathroom and vice versa. It really is concerning. The other thing that I was glad that the referendum passed, but I do think you guys have some work to do. I did want to say something positive, and that was, I went to the open house for the reading program, and I was impressed. It's very, very good. It starts at the beginning with letters and vowels, and it works its way up through the system. These kids, if they stick with that program, are going to end up learning how to read and read well. The teachers in there were really impressive. They took me through, there were 4 ladies in there, and they basically all spent the time walking me through the various areas that they showed me the books, etc. Hopefully we can stay on that path and stick with the 90 minutes. The plan really sounded, I was distressed to see that very few people attended, at least when we were there. We were there for a little over an hour, and I saw 2 or 3 ladies. I don't have kids in the school system, and I wanted to know what you guys were up to. I'm surprised that more parents weren't notified or encouraged or whatever to come and actually see hands-on what's being done. That's all. Thank you. Where do I find out about this bathroom issue? That really bothers me, so I'd like to know where to get the answers.
Give you your email.
We'll have our superintendent follow up with you, Diane.
Thank you.
Okay. So then
I filled out a form online for public input, but I don't know if
okay, I don't have one, but come on up. We still have
Thank you for your
time, so
service.
go ahead.
Mackenzie Reed, 936 North Fifth Street. I appreciate everyone listening. I know everyone's time is valuable. I'm here on behalf of a local nonprofit called Lean On Me Lakeshore that I'm very proud to serve on the board of. And I was just hoping to speak to everyone and any parents and educators that might be listening and watching, just to let you all know about our organization and just let you know about this resource that exists. So what we do is we raise money for Manitowoc County families that have a child that may be dealing with any kind of medical issue. We understand that there's a lot of unexpected costs that come up when you're dealing with that. So unplanned time off of work, extra trips to perhaps Children's Hospital or other, medical places that maybe aren't in Manitowoc. If you have a diagnosis that requires a special diet, your grocery bill might be increasing. So we offer assistance in the form of gas cards, grocery cards, chamber bucks, just things to kind of help alleviate some of those unexpected costs that come with that. We have a website. It's leanonmelakeshore.org. There's an application right on that homepage. So if you visit leanonmelakeshore.org, it's a really straightforward kind of one-page application. There are no medical situations too big, too small. If you find you're out of work because your child has a several-day-long flu that you have to, tend to them, that could certainly qualify. It would certainly be if there's any kind of chronic issues or anything like that. So I'm really just here to hopefully put that little worm in your ear. If you know any parents or families that could use that assistance. We have been fundraising. We've been in existence since 2018. So we're very eager to continue helping families in the area. So again, leanonmelakeshore.org, super straightforward online, very easy application. I imagine it would probably take no more than 10 minutes for applicants to complete. So to anyone watching, to all of you, if you know anyone, I would just appreciate you spreading the word. That's all. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, anybody else? All right, we can go ahead and close public input and move on to our consent agenda. Is there there's two documents that we have, meeting minutes from the April 26, 2023 organizational meeting and the special board meeting. I would be looking for a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll motion. Second.
Okay, and is there any discussion on these documents at all? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Okay, motion approved. Okay, and then we're going to move on to our, under our report of the superintendent, the payment of vouchers, and Angela.
Yes, we have the payment of vouchers available, presented in board book for approval. The total for the month is $7.8 million. Happy to answer any questions in regards to that. Payment of vouchers.
Okay, and I'd be looking for a motion in a second to approve the recommendation of payment of the vouchers.
Motion to approve.
Okay, Viv and
I'll second.
Matthew Phipps second. Okay, and any discussion or questions for Angela? Okay, all those in favor, motion by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And then we do have our monthly financial reports. There's no action required. Anything you want to highlight in there, Angela?
Nothing in particular. Things are trending pretty similar to previous month or this point in the school year. We're working to start closing out the fiscal year. We have a fund balance right now of about $16 million. And so, we're at the point too where we start heading into a lower point in the year for, just for our cash balance and what we're paying out. So, but we will be fine. This is very, very typical. We received our final state aid payments in June, and so we're just working on also doing more claiming and stuff to wrap up the fiscal year. So everything is checked.
Okay. Any questions at all for Angela?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Angela. I noticed you had some graphs in there.
Yep.
Is that with the new Skyward software that you got, or?
The graphs are not. Those are just ones that we've included in the past. Because we're going between records from the old system and the new, we'll continue with this format. And then when we get to January, we'd be able to have a full fiscal year in the new system and update things if we'd like to. So.
Okay. Yeah, I like the way that that's shown, and I was going to suggest if it's possible, maybe getting another year's worth of data just to get a better,
That's 3 years.
yeah, a picture. And another thing that might be helpful long term is just if there's any miss from plan, just kind of highlighting that if there's any area, but just to make it easier to work through this.
Correct. No, that's a good point. Thank you. There are definitely ways that we could offer more graphics to aid in the understanding of the financials. And actually, I'm working with Jim to look at and explore some other options out, just platforms that we can use to just bring in just a better look at the dashboard. We've talked about a lot of times for the financial data, and we talk about the performance of the budget too, and kind of pull that from Skyward automatically. So
Yep.
We'll be looking at that. So
Yeah, that'd be great. And again, it's a lot of data, a lot of information, which is probably a lot of people hard to digest. So really what I would look for is if something is not coming in as expected, just making it like red and shiny or something. It's just what pops out.
sure. Maybe just a few highlight points is what you're.
Yep.
Not a problem.
Okay, any other questions for Angela?
Red and shiny.
Okay, and moving down, she did present our monthly donation list. We do not have anything that needs approval, but just want to thank the businesses that sponsored our youth apprenticeship night. which is coming up in a few weeks. So thank you to those donors. So if you see them out in the community, say thank you to them. Okay, and then I'll make be looking for a motion, first and a second motion to approve our personnel report that's been presented. Okay, Chris first, second, Andy Phipps. Okay. Any discussion at all about the personnel report?
Madam
Yes.
President,
Yes.
when I was looking through this,
Yes.
41 years and 46 years. And two of these people have worked for the district. And I
Amazing.
yeah, to have that loyalty and that dedication from Cynthia and Sandra, it's just something special. I mean, all of these people are great, but 40 plus years working in the district says something about their character and how they serve the people in the school district.
Thank you, Ben. Chris, did you have something, Jay?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm getting it under the right thing here. So
Okay.
I'm just double checking that. The right. Yeah. So in the area where it's recommended for approval for the those people that we're hiring, I just wanted a little explanation, since it's new to me, what the process is, especially to me. I'm really well aware of the process for hiring a teacher, obviously. But for hiring a principal, I just wanted Mike sort of give us a little information on what that process is, so that when it comes here, because this is the first I see of it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Chris. So when we have a administrator vacancy, we post them on WeCan. WeCan is Wisconsin Educator Career Access Network. And it's a software out of University of Wisconsin-Madison, and all 421 school districts in the state of Wisconsin use that for teachers and administrators. In addition, we post on or notice it on the ASA, the Association of Wisconsin School Administrators website, and those are our two mechanisms for getting our vacancy out there. Once we do that, we look at our candidates, we screen them down, and then we invite them in for our first round interview. The first round interview is a site-based interview. So in this case, with the Lincoln High School, we had, I would say, at least 8 staff members at Lincoln High School. Myself, I think Kate was participating with me, and we do the site-based. And our charge for the site-based is not to make the selection. Our charge for the site-based is to endorse somebody to go on to the second round, and the second round is with superintendent, assistant superintendent, directors, and that sort of thing. And so we do this process, and at the end of the day, as you can see on here, Jonathan Hoffman, he goes by Micah, and as you can see, he was in the district for a number of years. Some of you may know Micah, and surfaced at the top. And I tell you what, I think we landed in a good place, really good place. I'm very, very pleased to present him for your consideration tonight. Next Lincoln High School principal. That answer.
Yeah, and so I guess my only other question would be, and normally the board knows about this process way before, I just wasn't around the bell. Okay, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
A warm welcome to Micah as well too. I've been hearing a lot of good reports and pouring out from public support, personal friends and family members that have had kids in the district for many years. It's a real, like, I agree with the good land.
And we're very fortunate because he's a Manitowoc resident. Kids go to school at Jackson, I believe. He has 3 children. Spouse lives here. So yeah, he roots here. He's invested here. And I mean, I think this is going to be an outstanding hire.
Good.
So it's good.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions at all? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of accepting the recommendations on the personnel report, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Jim, with our strategic plan update.
Yes, we'll always have this on the agenda, in terms of updates, and as we move more into getting our performance metrics in place, we'll have other visuals to be able to see. But just
just some updates on there, in terms of, student success, we're, pursuing, an assessment system that we've not had, in terms of where we're all using that. And Ms. McCall is proceeding with that, having a committee meeting even this Thursday, so we're hoping by the end of May that we will have a decision to advance in terms of what national assessment we'll be using, to help gauge our work, and that's proceeding along. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. We have student and parent surveys going out. That hits another pillar, in terms of, how we're doing in terms of, with parents, in terms of, that they're seeing us as, their school of choice, based on how they're doing. So we'll be looking for that as well as student. We haven't launched the staff one yet, but we will. And all this information will be made available to you, when we proceed down there in terms of after we get a chance to review the feedback. So those are a couple of things that are happening. We concluded our last, we launched this year, PTO presidents, superintendent's advisory, committee. That's been really well. We've had 2 meetings. We had the last one for this year. We'll again bring this up and running at the beginning of the next school year again. And likewise for special education. I wasn't able to attend. I took last week off, and it was nice to do some work at home. But yeah, Katie did a nice job in terms of, running that. And so that I understand was very successful there too. So again, we concluded that. So that's up and running. Still need to follow up on terms of, we talked about how we get students involved, and we talked about, that group, and I still need to work on that. So, that's still on the agenda to do, as well as some conversation in terms of how we might get a student representative, to be on the board in a non-voting manner, but participating there where we can also have that level of engagement. So we'll keep you posted in terms of our progress there. So those are just the other thing I'd like to mention, and Angela touched on this a little bit, but we're also looking for a dashboard. Many districts that are doing well with the dashboards are using some data management engines, that really pull from other databases that you have, to make the compilation of information a lot easier. So we're looking at some programs, right now, that can make this work easier too, so that it'll pull up when we're going strong next year. So we're looking at that, but we'll keep you posted of that. So that's just an update on the strategic plan.
Okay, any questions at all for Jim? Okay, then we'll move into our district activity update.
The first thing, just to kick it off, just before this meeting, it seemed like we might have miscommunicated maybe with some, a time, but there was a dedication ceremony, I had on my calendar 4:15. Some people had some other time in there, so I apologize for any miscommunication there. But that was a nice dedication there of our scoreboard for the baseball field. We had a number of board members there, as well as the donors. And it was really nice, seeing how the community came together pretty quickly to make something significant happen. So it was a nice recognition, and it was nice having our board members there, and I know all wish to be there that couldn't. So I highlighted that. Some other things, this is Teacher Appreciation Week, and I know the board has done something, in terms of also, which is very appreciated in terms of what you've done. We've also done some things at each site. So it's been, I think, hopefully seen as our appreciation, for what our teachers are doing, and the staff that obviously support them, into this process. Some other things in terms of some upcoming events: Lincoln Prom is May 20th. Youth Apprenticeship Awards Night is May 24th at the Capitol Civic Center. The 40th Century Retirement Celebration, May 30th. Scholarship Night at Lincoln High School, May 31st. June 1st is McKinley's Academy graduation. And again, if any board members wish to attend any of these events, please let Lori know. Okay, and so she will make sure that that's noticed. Okay. I just heard coming back, from last week, congratulations to Dr. Lori Williams, recipient of the 2023 Distinguished Mathematics Educator Award. This is the most prestigious award the Wisconsin Mathematics Council bestows, and she was recognized for her outstanding contributions and exceptional leadership and service to the Wisconsin mathematics education community. And I would just echo that on behalf of school board. She's elected to retire this year instead of proceeding with the school district, and we just really appreciate all that she's done over the years. And this is a nice recognition in terms of that she's decided to proceed with retirement this year. Also some congratulations from Lincoln High School. Congratulations to the following students who advanced from regionals to compete in State History Day competition in Madison this past Saturday. Corey Sellenheimer, Leela Redwine, Riley Kowalski, Riley Glazer, Lindsay Yanni, Callie Gates, Olivia Rabbits, Mitchell Drescher, and each year Mrs. George's advanced ninth grade U.S. history students complete a History Day project on a topic connected to a nationally chosen theme, and this year's theme was Frontiers of History. Also, a big Lincoln High School ship shout out and congratulations are in order for Tor Silheimer, who is advancing to the National History Day competition held June 11th and 15th at the University of Maryland. Also, that came in a couple things here. Just today, I received from the American Heart Association for Dwayne Dreiger. Let me just see here. Dwayne Dweiker from Jackson Elementary, Paige Gainser from Franklin Elementary, and Caitlin Dorrell from Madison Elementary were all recognized by the American Heart Association for their work in terms of volunteer leaders for their impact on building healthier lives free of cardiovascular disease and stroke, and making recognition to these teachers who assisted with the Kids Heart Challenge. So just another recognition that came into the district today. And on that same note, I was pleased in terms of had the opportunity where Mr. Hanson had provided me some tickets to experience the Heartorama. And what was really nice was I met so many teachers that volunteer and others, at this event. And it's a 6-day running event. And Biff was also MC there, and it was a delight to attend and packed. I mean, it was a great experience. And so another recognition about how much our staff are not only doing here, but are giving back, to the community. And so it was really nice to see and to be there, and I felt pretty proud to see your staff and their volunteering. And it was really nice. So thank you for that. So that's what I have for activities.
You can try out next year.
No.
Okay.
That'd be hard act to follow. Acts.
Okay, thank you for that information. So moving on, unfinished business, the establishment of the CISA 7 rep. I wanted to wait on this just to find out some more information. And I would like to request, if nobody has strong objection, I would like to be the person that goes to the CISA 7 as the representative for the year. I would need a motion in a second for that.
Second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any discussion about that? The reason why is I looked at the agenda, which is tomorrow night, and this is my 3rd year on, and I don't remember this being something that was talked about a lot, and I think we're missing a huge opportunity here. This meeting tomorrow is actually, they select a group of people, I want to say it's called the controller or something to that effect, of all the CISA schools to represent all of us, which and not knowing it or being part of that, I really think we're missing out on representing our district. So I just want to find out more information on what happened, so how we can get to be more involved, and maybe someday that we would lobby ourselves to be on this board that makes decisions. So it's my understanding, it's a long agenda tomorrow, and then I'm not sure after that what the responsibilities are if you're not on this other board. But I just want to come back and let us know and what kind of opportunities we look at, sort of that stakeholder and wanting to be more engaged in the governance. So just to come back and at least set us on a course to be more involved in that and have some representation. So any questions at all, or?
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, you bet. Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, so some new business. We're going to start off with, there has been a recommendation that has come from our administration team for a proposed 4.5% CPI salary wage increase for administration and all other staff. We would need a first and a second in order to go into discussion about that. So is there a first and a second? Chris first?
Yeah. 1 second.
Okay, second, Matthew. Okay, any discussion about that? And actually, I'll start with Mike. If you just want to give us a little background about how you came to your conclusions here.
Sure. I think there's two major things. One is that a couple weeks ago, we shared with you the survey from CISA 7, 175 different districts. And there were 175 different districts that submitted information for the 23-24 school year. And they remember they projected what their CPI was going to be for their teachers, their administrators, their support staff, that sort of thing. And if you remember, they were all falling about 4.5%, right in the middle there somewhere. So that sort of thing. And so based upon that, we passed 4.5 for the teachers, and based upon, I believe, historically, in most school districts, and I think the same thing's happened here in Manitowoc, is that it's pretty common to have whatever you do for one group, you pretty much try to do for every group throughout the system. So this proposal is for administrators, paraprofessionals, all of our clerical staff, our IT staff, our custodians, our maintenance workers, and anybody else that doesn't fall into one of those groups, we catch them all. So the proposal is, and the recommendation is that we consider to be a 4.5% for all those employees. CPI increase effective July 1, 2023.
Discussion.
I see a discrepancy between the administration and the paraprofessionals because of the pay difference completely. So a paraprofessional tops out $18 an hour, and an administrator tops out at $180,000 a year. It's a salary base compared to an hourly. Lumping these two together just doesn't seem adequate, in my opinion. I know it's not a popular comment to say, but I'm going to say it, and that's what I feel. I would like to take them separately, just because the impact on 4.5% for 20-hour an hour job compared to $120,000 a year salary is completely different, in my opinion. That's my only input I have at this point.
I actually was going to echo and say the same thing. You spoke up before me, but that's, I know everybody deserves a raise, but just like you said, I think it's the impact when you say 4.5% to somebody who makes this amount versus somebody that makes that amount. I believe everybody deserves the raise. I just want to make sure that we're allocating it in the right spots and making sure that we're competitive, if not even more competitive in some of these areas. So that's, I echo his.
Did you want to modify the motion for?
I guess I'm kind of looking for an all-around input as well too, as to what you think or how that works. And we can come collectively as to what we might think to change it to. If that sounds, and if I'm out of bounds or if he is, then say it. But maybe you guys have a suggestion as well too. But that's kind of how I was thinking.
Okay. Anybody else?
How do you feel about that?
Is what we talked about the other day, the quicker to get to the higher salary, is that included in this part of the?
In this part that we're talking about right now?
Right.
No.
Okay.
So we're talking about
just the overall.
It's the
Yes.
next
Yeah,
item on the
yeah,
agenda.
yeah.
I think that helps.
Yeah, I'll talk separately about that too.
I would agree that somebody who worked in buildings, it's hard to keep some of the professionals that we have. As we talked the other day, that there's been a turnover in custodial staff. I think because wages in the area have gone up.
Market is just so competitive.
And is that something we need to look at to raise those bottom wages to be competitive and get people? I would agree that's something to consider.
So I guess I would make a motion to do the 4.5% for the non-salaried employees. So like that's a statement that I'll make. If somebody wants to second that, that would move that forward, and then we would take the administration separate. I'm just thinking out loud.
I was kind of thinking a lot of whatever you did do, it would not be, I think whatever you did, you kept that, shifted it towards the,
We have a motion on the floor
Okay, yeah.
to, take the two, groups separately. So it would be salary or non-exempt versus exempt. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it for discussion.
All right, so, any discussion, further discussion about that?
well, I guess when you just say
So my
4.5.
point is that I want to try to close the gap between high paying people and low paying people. And I want to retain as one of our strategic plans pillars is to retain employees. And I don't want the turnover to be higher on paraprofessionals because we need them really bad. And the janitors, we need really
Right.
bad. And I've seen that advocates have been telling me, the market is just, different companies in Manitowoc are just scooping these employees. Corporate are just taking these employees because we're not competitive on them positioning.
So figuratively, just, I have no idea, what, say, you did it and you, instead of a 4.5 for administrators, say you did a 4 or a 3.5.
Yes.
Right, and then, would you take that extra percentage and figure out what that would be and then add it to the,
No, I would be stewards of our money, just like the gentleman that spoke before.
Okay.
And try to be, I don't know what we would
I'm
do.
not opposed to that,
I'm
I
just trying to be, trying to be stewards of saying, hey, can we maneuver a little bit? Yes, I think I've talked with Mike and I think we've done that in the past. This is kind of a cut and dry. And like, I feel like on an island right now, but like, this is the easy way. Just cut and dry. Let's just
yeah, and it's been like that, we just stamp it and go on with it, right? I
I'm
agree.
okay with the 4.5. However, I wouldn't mind taking them separately to try to retain our paras and our janitors and our clericals because of that gap so much, because 4.5% is so much different for 40 grand compared to 140 grand.
Right.
That's all I'm trying to,
I totally agree.
trying to hit on
Did
right
you
now.
have something?
What do you think?
Well, I'm just curious to know, Mike, it sounds like this is the norm, right? I mean, keeping things consistent, like, do you ever see districts that do different percentages across the board or?
Very, very, very rarely.
And I think, just my thoughts, again, just playing devil's advocate here, if we want to keep everyone, engaged and tied to our plan, if I was a high performing administrator, I'd probably be kind of irritated. But
I understand.
that's just, that's me. So,
Other people? Yeah, Mike. Sure.
I just want to, I don't think there's an employee in this district that's not important. So, retaining paraprofessionals, retaining clerical, retaining custodian, that's all good. That's all really good. Right now, we're working on hiring 6 administrative positions. And I have to tell you, good administrators, good leaders are not plentiful. And we need to remain super competitive with our opportunity to bring people in and compete out there. We just need to.
What Mike just said is important in that I think there's 2 issues here. And one of those issues is the people towards the bottom of our pay scale. I truly believe need a boost so we can hire and find people. But you're also going to have that with administrative and teaching staff. If we don't keep up with salaries in the area, we're going to lose those people too. Now, we just gave 5% across the board, I believe, for county employees. And I know the city is somewhere in that area too. And that, I'm talking county employees, and we all know the county executive is a very conservative guy, but he saw us starting to have to worry about losing people. So I think these are 2 separate issues, but I'm not sure I could support not doing the 4.5% for administration if we want to keep those people. it's no different than losing the people, you know, the custodial staff or paras. If I can go to Green Bay or Sheboygan or Appleton or somewhere else, I may look at that if Manitowoc doesn't keep up. That's something we have to consider here. So I agree, Matt, that they're separate. There maybe should be separated to build up that bottom, but I don't think we can not be competitive on the top either. Okay, it's hard to find people.
I agree with all that.
Yeah, I was, perfectly comfortable with 4.5% at our last meeting. And I certainly am this time, both for salary and non-salary staff. And the reason is because the 4.5 it's called the CPI increase. It certainly is not the CPI, which is rather a higher number than that right now. I think they're currently projecting it's probably 8%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really what it is it's a move towards CPI or CPI gesture, but you really wouldn't want to call it that because that sounds horrible. So I'm sorry I said it. But I do think it's important to do that for all the positions. And that's still not correcting for the market pressures. That's correcting for what electricity, gas, groceries, daily life is costing everybody. And it's a reflection of that. It is 4.5 dramatically more if you're making dramatically more money. Absolutely, but I still don't think in general with administrators, we're priced way on the top end of the market for, our administrators. So I think it's appropriate all the way. Thank you.
I was going to say that, I support this because I really think the next area that we're going to talk about next is the key, in my opinion, that I think that when we studied the CPI, we know that we are in the ballpark in this region. And I think that's important. And I think that we've met that mark. The next thing now is in each one of these professions, is our range also regional and in the mark? Because we talk a lot about that people are leaving our district because they're not being paid as much. However, Mike has said that's not, the custodials are not leaving because of that. So, we may think that that's happening when we hear McDonald's paying this or that, but we don't have the evidence that says that's happening. But I think we need to be diligent every year when we're looking at salaries. Are we still remaining in that range of our high and our low? And so I think that when it comes to our strategic plan, I think that's where we need to be looking always at that. What is going on in our region? How do we keep our staff? And then, let's also not forget, we have a pretty nice benefits package that we offer. And if you add that on as well, that's a lot of money. And I think that we offer things that a McDonald's or other place doesn't. And so I think that we need that. So, I support a 4.5 across the board.
I just want to add real quick. I was supplementing what Matt said, and I would have said the same thing as well too, but there's more or less to bring it up for discussion because I really wanted to hear what everybody else is thinking about that. But yeah, I'll support that.
Angela?
Just was going to briefly mention that we are taking a slightly different approach where we used to, kind of connected to what we'll talk to next, but just a general approach for increasing everyone is we used to use the base where they were initially hired on and then steps and longevity and our experience was not included in that. And we're also shifting for everyone that it's included on the current year's wage so that, just from an optics standpoint, the increase, for like the paraprofessionals, clerical, for all groups would be a little bit more compared to how it was calculated in the past.
Correct. Go ahead, Matt.
my last comment about this is the people making, and this is posing a question everybody think about, people making $45,000 to $50,000 a year, are they more apt to be living paycheck to paycheck and inflation hurting them more, or the people that have established and have, you know, a higher salary? And let me go back for a minute here. The people that are working hourly only get paid when they're at school, and they don't get paid in the summer, and so they have to work different jobs. So like, I do understand everybody's sentiment. However, I would be more asked in my position in life now to take a little bit less pay because I'm established and try to help the people that are living paycheck to paycheck on the lower end of their, you know, whatever they end up being. And I have recommendations from employees in the district that are trying to recruit other employees from other markets in the custodial field that can't get them to come here because of the wage. So I have a firsthand example of that. So I do understand you're trying to say about data, Stacy, and I agree. However, I'm trying to make Manitowoc a destination for all people, not just administrators, not just, you know, clerical or custodial or paras. I understand. So I'm just saying it affects people completely different when you make 40 grand a year compared to when you make 140 grand. That's all I'm trying to say. So I understand if it dies right here, but I had to say it.
I just want to say that all that we're discussing right now, I discussed with the executive team, and most importantly, competitive internal equity and external equity, meaning are we being competitive to others? And we will constantly be even more so in the future, bringing comparables so we really have a better understanding, you know, of that. Mike and Angela now, you know, have pretty much reassured me, you know, in terms of looking at what is happening in our region. You know, that we're competitive, you know, at all, but there's a risk of losing all. And so if there was a sentiment about doing something, but I still want to justify, it would be, you know, kind of the Chris's point, you know, in terms of, you know, bringing up the bottom if there was a need. And that's something that we discussed, but it didn't rise to the extent that we felt that there was evidence enough to do that. We're recognizing. But we're already finding that, you know, we are finding employees that we weren't finding before in the custodial. So we're already doing some things a little bit differently, where we're, you know, recruiting a little bit more, but that would be a concern. You have to make sure that we can recruit at all levels in terms of where it's at. So I'm supportive of the recommendation, you know, coming through. If there were a consideration, I would be looking to bring the bottom up more than, you know, take away from the top, even though I recognize what Nat has also put on the table.
Yeah, I understand that. We would love to say 5 and 4.5 or 6 and 5 or whatever. However, you know, we have to make the line somewhere.
Yeah, and appreciation for the benefits. You know, one of the things we were talking about is even how we notify our employees, like annually, this is your value in terms of here's what you're getting, not only in pay, but your value and benefits. So they really truly know if they're ever shopping, make sure to shop, you know, and know what you're potentially comparing.
And our new system can even show them that. We can generate reports like that a lot easier in the future.
That's a great point.
So we have a motion in a second, right now, to, hang on one second, to, take the administration, separate. So exempt from non-exempt is the, motion right now on the floor. Tony.
Angela, I just wanted to confirm that these increases, they've been accounted for in the planning and budget. Is that right?
Yes.
So, seeing no other discussion, we would take a vote on the motion to separate exempt and non-exempt. So all in favor say aye.
Should we just, well.
Yeah, we have some administrators that are exempt, that are non-administrators that are exempt, that are salaries. So you want to, I mean, it's handled and how you may want to separate administrators as a group versus salary and non-salary.
I'll go back to Matt, who made the first motion. What is your specific motion?
It would be to separate administrators from all other staff.
Correct.
That would be the more clear cut.
Okay, and you second that, how it's stated?
I did, yeah, but.
Okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed?
Hey.
Lori, you got that?
Yes, 4 to 5.
Okay, so then, the original, motion is to, take a recommendation to do a 4.5 CPI for, all administrators and other staff. Any other discussion regarding that? I see none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. The next piece here is we have a recommendation from administration to restructure the para professionals and the clerical step that we use with comparables. So do I have a motion and a second to accept that recommendation?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Anthony, second by Chris. Okay, any discussion? And actually, I'm gonna have Mike start to just get a little background.
Okay. Thank you. So in my short time here, 5 or so months, we've been very fortunate relative, this is a clerical group, we've been very fortunate to bring in some really talented, skilled, clerical people. With that being said, I've had to bring them in mid-range for the most part. So there's been some paralysis, some disgruntledness. And when I looked at that and tried to figure out, okay, what is going on? I realized that what was happening was we were bringing people in about halfway through the range. And yet we had people that had been with us for anywhere from 8, 9, 10 years. And they were barely at halfway through the range. They've been with us all that time. So I was thinking, okay, well, that makes sense. You know, no wonder people are a little, put out upset about that. So, got together with Angela. We looked over the situation in more detail, studied it, examined it, and what I learned from that, as I did some calculations that I shared with you, was that our custodial maintenance folks moved from the bottom of their ranges to the top of their ranges in about a 4-year period, the average. Our paraprofessionals, there's 4 groups, they move from the bottom to the top at an average of about 11 years. And our clerical move from the bottom to the top, they're average about 39 cents a year step. It's about 14 plus years. So right there, I realized, I started, okay, it just dawned on me that there's our issue. We're bringing good, talented people in here, and our good, dedicated, committed people over here have worked with us for so many years, and yet aren't getting through that range. So therefore, put some more math to it, and came away with a plan that basically takes it, collapses it. So now, if this were to be approved tonight, we would have custodial maintenance going through their range in about 4 years, which is where it is exactly today. Our paras going through it about 5 years, and our clerical is going through it about 5.5. So now we have that consistency. I think it would help us with morale. I think it would help us with attracting people, because we could talk about moving through. And I really think it would help us with retention, because people would move from the bottom to the top in a more timely manner. I mean, the purpose of a step is to take somebody from the lower end of the range when they become competent and proficient in a timely manner to the top, but not a 14-year period, not a dozen years or more, some of that kind of stuff. So,
Was that prorated? I mean, like, say the people that, a para that's been here for 6 years now, what would that do? Would that bring them to the top then, or is that something that is going forward?
well, this would become effective July 1. And then as we implemented it, let's just say you were a para that was at the bottom of the range. Within 5 years, you'd be to the top.
Okay.
So, and now today it'd be 11 plus years.
What I'm saying is, say I'm a para that I've been working here for the last 6 years and I'm somewhere around the 25%. What would that do to my pay? Would that bring me, because
it would not increase your pay as right now, but what it would do is it would increase your ability to move through the range much faster. So it would increase your hourly wage at a much faster rate.
It really doesn't do anything with people that are already here. I mean, it does, because they won't have to go that long, but it's not, this isn't going to affect the, yeah, okay. Kind of wondering how that's fit.
Okay. And I think, Angela, correct me if I'm wrong with this, but I think it was about this time last year, the board with the paraprofessionals, was it $600,000?
Correct.
$600,000 to bring the bottom of the paras up. So the board has invested a good chunk of money there.
I remember.
Okay, all right.
And the paraprofessional making $15 an hour now would go up to $15.68 with the 4.5% increase, and then with a 31-cent step would go up to $15.99.
I was just kind of concerned about their tenures so far. I mean, we have some people here, obviously, that have been working here for 6-7 years that are not at the top pay. And then, you know what I mean? So then they would be reaching the top pay right around the same time as people that are hired. You know what I mean?
You know, there's going to be some of that type of stuff, Matt. And I think no matter what we do, you're not going to totally eliminate some of those inequities. Just, you know, I mean, even with what we did last year, that was a huge sum of money. Correct. The board committed. Even with doing that, it really helped the bottom. There were people that they just missed that and do. You have to do what you have to do to maintain market competitiveness still.
I want to thank you. So this is not a result of equity. This is a result of the market and inflation. So like, this is a great plan. Thank you, Mike. Like this is what we need to do. This is a macro plan. This is for the longevity of the district. This is the strategic plan. This is great. I was more concerned about the people living paycheck to paycheck now, and then they're going to go look at a different job tomorrow because it pays higher tomorrow because of the initial. So I think this is a great long-term plan, and I'm completely in support of it. And it really helps to minimize the time that it takes to get to the top of the pay scale. So like, perfect, great, thank you. I was just trying to identify the people already at the limit that they're having problems with inflation right now. So this really collapses the time that it takes to get to the top. And like you said, the market is what's telling you that you have to hire people already 7 years in to where you're at with their scale or step. And that's not going to change. It's going to continue. So we're just trying to catch up to market is what I'm seeing here. I'm not seeing anything else, but we are collapsing. The only thing we're not doing is we're not identifying any differences of the custodial at this point. So I understand, but we are taking care of the paras and the clerical to get them to their top a lot sooner. And that will help you 100% for your hiring to say, hey, in 4 years, you can be here. And then, we just voted for 4.5% on top of that. So now we just raised the top 4.5% for this 1 year. So my big concern was right now retaining those people that are already here. And he's kind of saying that, hey, I've been in the district 7 years, and
now they're going to start at the beginning of this 4-year progression.
So I understand, but thank you for this information, and I will be voting yes for it.
I will be too. I know that we need to be concerned about getting good quality people in, but I also want to make sure that we're taking care of the people that are loyal to us as well.
Any other comments, discussion?
I think you brought up a good point, Matt, that those people that have been here and done a great job for us, but they kind of don't get rewarded at the same time. There's still kind of stuff in the system.
Can we do anything on that?
Is there some way to? I don't know. And how many people does it affect?
It's got to affect tons, I would imagine. Is there any way we can do anything about it? I don't want to throw a wrench in your system, because it's amazing. And I know you put a lot of hard work into it. Just that's something, if I had a chance to change that or put those people at that step, if they've been here 6-7 years, then they should be at worst people where we're going to say people would be at 6-7 years.
We just did with a 4.5% CPI. So
true. I'm talking about in the step progression is what I'm saying. Yeah. I don't know. Does that make sense or not?
It makes sense. I think we just don't know the financial impact that it would have, right? Yep. I mean, because if we have, let's say, I'm just making this up, 75% would go from mid-range to top of the range.
Right. Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
No, I agree. I just thought maybe we could look into it before we just violently threw it up.
Yes.
Yes, please.
One is, if there is an interest in terms of exploring something more, I still feel what's on the presented here for you for action is still a reasonable step, you know, but if you're looking in terms of potentially doing more for some, we could still look back, you know, rather than holding up anything is what I'm saying is that, you know, we could go back and look, you know, if there's, you know, for example, let's have everybody advance another step, you know, that try to get them, you know, closer, even though we've tried to expedite that, you know, but I guess what I would suggest, I mean, we can go back and look at it.
Can we? That's what we would go for.
Well, you can do anything you want to do here. My sense is we've done a good job here trying to figure out how to bring more internal equity and being competitive. We feel we are, and some of that is how we're placing people right now. You know, so I mean, by our placing people, are we in a good place? I mean, and you know, I think we have a reasonable sense that we've done a good job here trying to bring back, but you know, again, you know, I don't know if there's a little bit more tweaking. There's always a cost associated with anything you're going to do that you're giving away, but I feel right now this is definitely a good move, and I felt pretty comfortable with the group. But if you know, we can still go back and look a little bit more, you know, in terms of it, you know, is there a little bit more that we need to do? Some who are in here are kind of missing it. You know, that, but, you know, I think Mike would know a little bit better in terms of how we're placing people relative to years of experience and where people are at. So we might have some sense, you know, so I think we did a thorough job. I don't know in terms of if there's any other fine tuning that could be done.
Yeah. Chris?
Yeah, the only other thing I want to say is one of the things I really like about this is it says to all of everybody on these schedules, you know, we're really looking for you to be the top of the group in this job in 4 or 5 years, because any of us that have worked in the environment of any place where it takes a long time to progress through, you know that you are sometimes more lax in your expectations of people because they're not at the top of the scale, especially if it takes, you know, 14 years to get there. But if it takes 5 years to get there, that's also a message to all of the employees. And I trust that they want to get there. We expect them to be the very best at that job within 5 years. So I just think that's a great thing for us to be expecting of them and for us to tell them we know that you do.
Let me share.
Sure.
Let me share one other thing in terms of there's a flip side to this too, and I experienced this in terms of when I was working in Milwaukee, you know, with a charter school. I had the highest turnover of any school district. We were getting, you know, it was really tough getting our teachers. And then we were training them, they're immediately gobbled up. And so what I did was I accelerated the rate, you know, bringing them up. So I just did what we did. And then I had my senior teachers who had waited all this time to get to where they're at, were upset now because they felt shortchanged, right? Because now we just brought up people that didn't have to go through what they did. So, so there was some fallout, you know, from the people near the top, because now all of a sudden you created a situation where they feel like they're the losers. I had to wait this time. Are you going to give me something now? You know, so it, you know, some ways it doesn't stop when people are trying to see, you know, we're, you know, it's just fair, you know, with all concern.
I just want to say that, I mean, what I like about this plan, and you know, we've gone around and around on this board and in committees about how appalled we are about what we pay, you know, when it comes to this level. And I think it's a graduated process. I think we did a good job with the 600, but we need to do better. And I think this is another step to get better. I mean, it's when Mike called and I was talking 11, 14 years. I mean, that's appalling, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to remedy that,
right.
But it's a step. It's one step. And so I think that, you know, again, like I said before, I think we need to be very diligent about looking at this and being more, you know, vested in that to make sure that that doesn't happen. But a lot of it is going to be phasing something out to phase something in new, and that process isn't always, you know, clean because everyone's at a different place. But I think, again, last year was a good start. I think this is a really big jump start. But do we need to do better and try harder? Absolutely. And I think we will. So that's why I support doing this now, because I think it's a good way to even the playing field rather than having these huge gaps.
Last thing I'll say is I don't want to forget about that, there is a retirement and at the end of this for people that make it 20 years. And we cannot just brush over that. I mean, so that's why it was set up that way, ladies and gentlemen, is because the longevity of to keep you in the district till retirement so you get a state pension. So, and how many employees do we have that are paras that are collecting state pensions?
Most of them qualify.
No, I didn't ask if they
Oh,
qualify.
okay, I'm sorry.
I said,
Okay,
how many
okay.
state pensions are you paying that are parents?
Oh,
that have
for
made
like
it to
our
the state
OPEB
pension.
benefits? Okay.
Yeah, that's because it's like a labor's union for laborers in construction. They get burnt out and then they don't get to the pension.
Right.
And then the fund is huge, but they didn't get to it because they couldn't stay in it because they got burnt out. So that's all I'll say to the rest of this, but everybody's gotta,
Boy, there's a lot to it.
yes, there is.
Right, sorry.
Can I just make one real
Yeah.
quick? We also, because our support staff, for the most part, if they're going to leave your organization, they're going to leave for something that's within 20 minutes to a half hour max. So as you can see, we were able to get some information from Denmark, Kohler, Sheboygan, Two Rivers, and Elders. And relative to their support staff structures, their lows and their highs. And, I studied this and looked through it. For the most part, we're in a hunt. We're in a hunt. There were some places where we were a little lower, but we were a little higher. Okay, so, for what it's worth, I just want to make sure that that's on our radar.
Yeah, I appreciate that info. Yes, Tony.
Angela, I just wanted to confirm, are these proposed step increases in line with with the budget that we have?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? So the recommendation, we have a first and a second to have the proposed restructure of the paraprofessional clerical step structure. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you for the discussion, everybody. Okay, so our next new business item is a policy review. Our bylaws state that we need to have a policy on the agenda two times. So this would be the first time this is on there. And so from the recommendation from our administration, this would be the first read of that proposed revision on policy 2261.01, parent participation in our Title I programs. And the document that you received several of them that looked at the original and the proposed changes, and then also the final document. So do I have a motion in a second to accept those changes for the first read?
No motion. Second.
Okay, any discussion about those? And actually, Jamie, do you want to talk a little bit about how this even came to the board?
Sure, I'm happy to. So most of you are aware that we had a title monitoring session. I believe it was last month on the 17th. When you have a title monitoring session, you have a group of people that come to us from the state, and they look through several different sections of title. Ours was Title I, Title I, Title II, Title III. Out of the sections that were looked at, there were 13 sections. We have 9 areas where we have to provide more information, or they've asked for something different. So they take a look at our policies. They take a look at a lot of our procedures. They do take a look at our finances, how we've spent money, and then they also take a look at results. This policy that's coming before you is a policy because it was written and accepted when No Child Left Behind was the legislation that we were functioning under. Now we're functioning under I'm sorry, I'm trying to say every child.
Yeah, that's
So elementary, secondary, something.
Right.
Okay, so
Gotcha.
ESSA. What you'll see is with the strike through version, so the second one that you have, I left in the current policy and then I put strike throughs through the current policy and put the new language that is really coming directly out of ESSA and the suggestion that came to us from the state. It just aligns the policy. There's a couple of number changes. You'll see primarily things instead of parent participation, it will say parent engagement. You'll see a higher level of parent participation in some of the programming and our reporting out. You'll also see a removal of programs that we do not partner with folks, and yet some other areas where I placed in Jim's new committees where we are having parent participation, parent engagement, parent input. So that really is the long and short of this policy. We have to submit a policy that takes the place of the old one as soon as possible to meet that section of our finding.
Okay, any questions for Jamie or discussion at all? And we also did look at Neola, correct?
Yeah.
Of what there was. So that's the agency that we use that looks at sort of the legalese and offers language as well. So that has also been looked at. Okay. All right. No other discussion? Good. Okay, so we will put that on then for a second read at our next meeting at the end of the month. Yes, okay, and all in favor of the first read, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and then we have an out-of-state travel that we would need a first and a second. There's a recommendation to attend the FCCLA National Competition in Denver. One student going there. So do I have a motion and a second?
I'll motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Chris?
I think it's important.
Aldi?
Yeah. We did this last year, yes.
We did
right?
do this last year.
And you watched a little presentation by the student, and it was a great turnout.
Mhm.
And she did really well.
Yeah, so this, I think last year she went to California,
Yes.
or the student at the time went to California. This student will be going to Colorado. So any discussion, questions about that, more information anyone needs based on what was in the board book? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great, motion carries. Okay, just remarks from me. We remember that our second meeting of the month will be a short agenda of a special meeting, but then we will also be doing a meeting of the whole. So it will be a working session for any agenda items that might come up on there. So we'll let you know what those are. And I think that's it. Just again, be aware of a lot of the stuff that's going on. Jim rattled off a bunch, but let us know the things that you might attend and just try to be part of those as much as you can. And future meeting dates, obviously the next one will be the fourth Tuesday of the month at 6 o'clock. We'll meet for the meeting that I just talked about. And I don't believe there are, what's that? May 23rd. May 23rd, thank you. And I do not believe that there are any other meetings because our advisory is over. Ad hoc will meet though, I believe.
Yeah,
next
we were supposed to schedule for this week. It's moved to
May 17th.
May 17th, Wednesday instead of Thursday. And we're getting close, I think, to wrapping some things up. I think that they're going to be reviewing, there's still some work. Another thing that came up was making sure that there's some coordination with the the athletic code of conduct.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all for our general agenda. We do need to vote to go into closed session. The Board of Education will vote to convene in closed session for the purpose of considering the following matter: considering the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which a governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. This meeting is authorized pursuant to section 19.85, subsection 1C of the Wisconsin statutes. So do I have a motion and a second to go into closed session?
So moved.
So moved, Bill. Okay, Tony, second. Okay, we do need a roll call vote.
Christopher Abel,
Aye.
Bill Hanson,
Aye.
Matthew Phipps,
Aye.
Stacy Selman,
Aye.
Matthew Spalding,
Aye.
Tony Vosdelica.
Aye.
Okay, we'll just take a real short recess to clear the room.
I'm gonna finish this first, but I'm gonna switch.
Yes, that's what it is. Yep.